This place looks very nice. I can definitely steal and sell some jewelry here for a high price. Excuse me, not so suspicious, sir. But do you know where they keep the jewel? I would like to taste some of your most expensive wine for free. Sir? Sir, are you listening? Sir? Sir? Sir, are you listening? Sir? Sir?
The bloodline must continue.
Sir?
The bloodline must continue. The bloodline must continue.
Oh my god, it's Chris Redfield!
Welcome to the family, son.
Long live Ada Wong and Lady Dimitrescu. With that said, hello and kumusta? This is the Artsi and I'll tell you about how I got addicted to
Resident Evil.
and you should get addicted to because you are missing out. Resident Evil is a game beloved by many, including me. And why is that? Because the game's too damn fun, duh. That's just the short version though. In complicated terms, because gamers who love the franchise are psychos and a bit of a masochist. Not the level from Software fans, but it's there. Before I talk about how I got addicted to it, sounds wrong. First, let me explain what type of a psycho play these types of games. Gamers who got addicted to these types of games are typically what I personally call
Slow gamers.
not because they are old who takes too long to learn the mechanics of the game, although some do, don't know why, but no offense. But they're gamers who loves the slow-paced games, like of course yours truly, Resident Evil, and its rival, Silent Hill. There are also RPG games like Dark Souls, not to be confused with Elden Ring. Elden Ring is a bit on the faster side. There are also FPS competitive games like Valorant. What else? Almost every psychological horror games like Visage, Outlast, sure. There are even management games that takes your time like Frostpunk, or some tactic games like turn-based gameplay. I'll even add Monster Hunter to the list. And what do they have in common? I don't know, I just added games to the list. But for real though, for me, it's, and I quote, the puzzle solving. Not the actual puzzles in the game where you have to solve it to progress the story, no. But what I'm saying is figuratively, like the game as a whole. For example, in Monster Hunter games, you can brute force your way to kill or capture the monsters by just slashing, shooting, or bonking all throughout the game. But the real game's intention is to use any items in your arsenal besides your weapons that is effective to that monster. More accurately, the monster's weak points, like a Monster Hunter. Let's go to Resident Evil. In Resident Evil 8 The Village, you can literally use only the pistol and the knife to clear the entire game. But what the game encourages you is to use your weapons according to the situation. For example, if you want to save up more bullets, use the pistol more cautiously, like getting a headshot, or if you're really confident, try the knife. If you have a situation where there are multiple enemies, use the shotgun. Is the enemy too tanky? Well, use the almighty Magnum weapon. It's been tried and tested in all of Resident Evil games, It is a standard for killing tanky enemies that you had enough with dying several times because of their bull, or getting stuck to a questionable immovable object, then proceed to die the stupidest way possible. I'm looking at you from software. Sure, it's still fun to finish the game by brute forcing it. Hey, if it works, right? But you can't deny those traps working so perfectly that it made you weak on your knees, and proceed to clip it and upload it on the internet because it was so satisfying. Another example is a build you made in an MMORPG that is so powerful you had no problem breezing through the game, or an RTS game strategy so good that it can win you almost every game. These slow-paced games for me are like solving the Rubik's Cube. Once you hit all those colors on the same side, it's the most satisfying feeling you can ever know. If you never have touched grass before, including me. This is just my personal perspective and opinion on how I see the people who likes these types of games. And I wanted to talk about fast gamers too, but I think I'll just make another video out of it. What can I say? I like farming. Now, I love these slow games, but personally, I do not like the psychological horror games much, or anything only puzzle games like Portal. I'm sorry, not really. I'm more of a combat guy. If it doesn't have combat, it's gonna take a lot for me to play a game without combat. Touché. But in Resident Evil, there's survival, combat, and a scary atmosphere. Hence the name survival horror. In these types of games, you're vulnerable, underarmed, and the atmosphere is tense all throughout the game. And we love that feeling. Maybe there's something wrong with us. I'm pretty sure. But it's like the same feeling when you wanna go watch a horror movie with your lover or with your friends. You want to feel that same excitement of being scared. It's a scientific thing, so I'm not gonna go explain that too much. It's basically saying human nature. And this applies to Resident Evil 2. To be fair, Resident Evil is scary, but more suspenseful than scary. And why is that? Well, for those who haven't played Resident Evil, they have this game mechanic called limited inventory. And because of this mechanic, it makes the game more strategic and suspenseful at the same time. And just what it says, you have a very limited amount of items that you can carry throughout the game. You have to be mindful of what you use in those types of situations. Resident Evil is known for its backtracking progress. And why is that? Well, sometimes when you explore some areas in the game, it's not what it seems to be. There's sometimes gonna be some lock or hidden doors or hidden walls that can lead you to that next area. But for you to access that area, you will first need a key, and that key is sometimes hidden throughout the map. Or let the game just mark it for you. Generally, it felt like a maze. You might think that it feels cheap or redundant that you have to go through this area again. That's true, but not really at the same time. Once you return to those areas that you have explored, you're gonna realize that it's not the same as it was. As you walk around, what you thought it was safe, it really isn't. Sometimes a new enemy appears, sometimes an ambush, maybe even an unkillable enemy that stalks you around the whole game. That feeling of safeness is gone. Resident Evil has this tendency to fake your safety. Wherever you go in these areas you've explored, you should not assume that you will be always safe, and it makes the game more tense. It's simple, but very effective. Most of the people who doesn't play Resident Evil thinks that the game only consists of zombies or mutated zombies. You guys should know, the ones who made Resident Evil are Japanese. So in reality, you're gonna see a lot of weird shit. Can I show this? Oh shit! God damn! From zombies to mutated zombies to mutated animals to unkillable enemies to some sexual enemies to some of the most grotesque looking thing I've ever seen in my life. For me, enemies in Resident Evil is all about the virus and mutations. And you have to be careful when dealing with each of these types of enemies because sometimes there are consequences that you will deal if you don't. For example, let's go with the traditional zombies. Now, it's common sense that you shoot them in the head. Same can be said in Resident Evil. Problem solved, right? Wrong. While it's true it can solve the problem, but other times, the zombies in the game are just faking it. If you come near the ones you thought you were dead, they'll just come back right up to eat your ass. So what's the solution to this problem? Well, besides praying that the headshot explode their brains out, sometimes shooting them in the leg is very effective just to make their balance fall off. Other times you just avoid them entirely, or right after you shoot them, you can burn their bodies so that they don't get up anymore. Although the burning mechanic are only implemented in the older games, I actually can't remember if Resident Evil 2 Remake has it or not. Oh well. Another example are the villagers in Resident Evil 4, the Ganados. Same thing as before, shooting the head is not always the solution because if you do, and when their brain pops, something else will come out and it's more dangerous than your average enemy. All in all, in a way, the game as a whole is like puzzle solving, training your brain to find a solution to the problem efficiently and effectively. And for me, that's both fun and satisfying at the same time. It's like an achievement in life. Normal people might don't get this, but we gamers do. Whether you killed a hard boss in Elden Ring, or getting to platinum in Valorant, getting that super rare item in an MMO, each game has a different kind of feeling of satisfaction. But in the end, it's still a rewarding feeling when you do. I guess also in Resident Evil that it gives us an ego boost that we solve those problems and beat the game just by ourselves. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Now, it's not just horror and gameplay that was so addicting. One thing that Resident Evil has that other survival horror games don't have is those goofy but cool characters. Characters in Resident Evil are always memorable. We got badass women, badass villains, punchable characters, and the poster boys of Resident Evil. Resident Evil has come a long way. From starting a fixed camera angle to popularizing third-person over-the-shoulder perspective, and finally becoming a first horror perspective experience. They went from horror, action, then horror again, but with fan service, and the game that had it all. The reason why I got addicted to the franchise is none other than Resident Evil Umbrella Corps. Just a joke, 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 just a joke. It's Resident Evil 4, of course. This game had it all. Horror, action, suspense, fun boss fights, fan service, and of course, the goofy ass characters, especially our boy, the one that has the most American name ever, Leon S. Kennedy. If you don't know where to start in the franchise, I can recommend this one first. Now, you can argue that you should play Resident Evil 7, sure, and Resident Evil 1 of course, but the reason why Resident Evil 4 is a good start is because, first of all, it still has the best combat in the franchise, and that's including the enemy variety as well. Also, it has the best exploration wise in all of the franchise. It's also the reason why RE Village was so hyped back then. Besides the massive plot, scare factor was balanced. It's not as scary as Resident Evil 7, but also not as action-packed as Resident Evil 6. And of course, has the best character in the franchise. And of course, some fan service. I might be biased and all because it's my first Resident Evil game, but there's no denying that there's a reason why Resident Evil 4 is the most popular game in the franchise. I could have recommended the first Resident Evil game, or if you want the scariest, go for Resident Evil 7. In my defense, fixed camera angles is not popular anymore, especially to younger audiences. It's just way too outdated now. And the ones who still play that fixed camera angle are, you know it. And Resident Evil 7 is way too scary for those who doesn't like horror games too much, but still want to try out the franchise. Resident Evil 4 has that balance that even Thanos will appreciate. To be honest, I like all the main titles and the spin-off titles of the franchise. Yes, even Resident Evil 6. I argue Resident Evil 6 has the most action and has the smallest horror factor in the franchise. RE6 failed as a Resident Evil game, but damn is it a fun game. Now you know how I got addicted to Resident Evil. And I hope you get addicted to it too. If you wanna share also your addiction to Resident Evil, please leave a comment down below. If you liked the video, give it a like and subscribe to my channel for more updates. Thank you for watching. See ya. Hey, psst. Did you like the video? Well, if you did, how about liking the video? On top of that, you should subscribe too. Ah, by the way, if you want more videos made by me, click here on the screen. Come on, just click it. It won't hurt ya. You won't? Okay then, fine. See you later, I guess.